What is the Old Testament and why study it?
As we begin our study of the Old Testament together, we're going to address the issue of what is the Old Testament and why study it in chapter 1. Basically, we're going to be covering 4 issues: canon, inspiration, textual transmission, and hermeneutics. Canon addresses the question, what is the Bible? Inspiration addresses the question, how is the Bible written? Textual transmission will deal with the topic of how did the Bible get passed down to us, and hermeneutics deals with understanding how we properly interpret the Bible so that we can communicate it and understand it and apply its truths to our lives.
What is a canon? Canon means a reed or measuring stick. Tests for canonicity. There are 3 teachings about the canonicity. Number 1, the author, written by a prophet or a prophetically gifted person. Number 2, audience, written to all generations. Number 3, teaching, written in accord with previous revelation. Get your facts straight. I remember my high school English teacher telling us, the most important questions you can ask are who, what, when, where, why, and how. That was good advice for writing a research paper. It is also good advice for studying the Bible. Most students would not try to write a research paper without knowing the basic facts. Neither should we begin to study the Old Testament before learning some basic facts about it. This chapter deals with our foundational questions every student of the Old Testament should be able to answer. What is the Bible? How was the Bible written? How did we get the Bible? How do we interpret the Bible? We will focus especially on the answers to those questions from the Old Testament. Here we begin with a canon. What is the Bible? At first, this question sounds simple. We know what the Bible is. It's a collection of 66 books, 39 in the Old Testament, 27 in the New Testament. It's Genesis all the way to the book of Revelation. But people have not always agreed exactly which books comprise the Bible. For example, do the apocryphal books, the extra books found in Roman Catholic Bibles, belong in the Bible? What if an archaeologist should discover another letter the Apostle Paul wrote? Should that letter go in the Bible? How do Jews and Christians first decide which books belong in the Bible? When we raise questions such as this, we raise the issue of canon. So what is exactly a canon? Here is the definition of canon. The word canon comes from the Hebrew word kane and the Greek word canon with a K. Both words originally signified a reed or measuring stick. Just as a reed could serve as a measuring standard, so the biblical canon was a measuring standard for faith and practice. People could compare their lives to what the Bible required. Furthermore, the word canon could denote a standard to which the biblical writings themselves must conform. Here's the question, tests for canonicity. As God revealed His word through people, it became important to know which books came from Him and which books only reflected human opinion. A consensus emerged as to what constituted proper tests for canonicity. The tests focus on 3 factors: author, audience, and teaching, which I previously showed on the chart. Test number 1. Written by a prophet or other spirit-led person. A book that was part of the canon had to be written by a prophet or another spirit-guided person. Human authors would not know God's will apart from God's Spirit assisting their understanding. The Spirit of God had to guide the writing process. His presence ensured the finished product was God's truth and accurately communicated God's message. Test number 2. Written to all generations. A book that was part of the canon had to impact all generations. God's message could not be confined to one audience. If a book was God's word, it must be relevant to all people of all times. The author might have written the book for a particular audience, but if it was God's word, all who read it could profitably apply its teachings to their lives. Test number 3. Written in accord with previous revelation. A book that was part of the canon could not contradict the messages of earlier writings God had revealed. For example, if a new writing claimed to be from God but contradicted the teachings of Genesis, it could not be God's word. God's truth remained the same and would not contradict itself. New revelation could reveal further information about God's plan and purposes, but it would never run counter to the old. The formation of the canon. By applying the above principles, the Hebrew people more or less determined which books belong in the Old Testament and which books did not. Nevertheless, some confusion existed among the general population. On certain occasions, Jewish leaders met to address this and other issues. One such meeting apparently occurred in Jamnia toward the close of the 1st century AD. The Council of Jamnia, AD 90. Jamnia, modern Yavne, is located in the southwestern coast of Israel. The city became an important center of influence in the Jewish community after Jerusalem fell to the Romans in AD 70. Scholars debate exactly what took place at Jamnia, but agree the council did not determine which books belong in the Old Testament. Rather, it appears to have confirmed books most had recognized for generations. In other words, the council may have endorsed certain books, but really only confirmed the faith community's understanding. Hebrew and English book order. Hebrew and English Old Testaments contain the same material. However, the books appear in a different order. We do not know why. The chart above provides a comparison. Chart of the Old Testament book order. Hebrew names for the books. In the beginning, these are the names, and he called in the wilderness. These are the words: Joshua, Judges, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Here's the Hebrew arrangement and classifications. Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. The former prophets: Joshua, Judges, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings. The latter prophets: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Here's the English arrangement and classification. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. It is under the law of the Pentateuch. History: Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 Chronicles, 2 Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther. And under the poetry and wisdom, we have Job, the Book of Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Songs. And the major prophets are Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, and Ezekiel. The approximate dates concern the beginning to ca. 1400 BC, down below. In the history, starting with the 1400 to 1380 BC down to 483 and 474 BC. Under the poetry and wisdom, no specific historical period covered here. The major prophets, 739 to 530 BC and 593 to 570 BC.